3100 BC. King Hor-Aha, second pharaoh of unified Egypt, lies dying in his palace at Abydos. Around him stand 36 young men, all aged 20 to 25, all palace servants who've attended him throughout his reign. They know what's coming. When the king's breath stops, so will theirs. Within hours, strangling cords will tighten around their necks. They'll be buried in subsidiary graves surrounding their master's tomb, equipped with tools of their trade, brewers with beer jars, shipwrights with model boats, artisans with paint pots. This is retainer sacrifice. Death has become architecture. The afterlife demands servants, and Egypt's earliest rulers take them by force. Archaeologists uncovering First Dynasty royal tombs at Abydos found something disturbing. King Jer's burial complex, dating to around 3000 BC, contained over 300 subsidiary graves arranged in neat rows flanking the royal tomb. All bodies were male, uniformly young, showing no signs of disease or battle wounds. They died simultaneously. King Jet's mastaba at Saqqara held 62 retainer burials. Queen Meritneith had 20 sacrificed servants. The demographics tell the story. These weren't natural deaths. They were executions timed to royal funerals, ensuring pharaohs entered the afterlife properly attended. The practice peaked under King Semakhet, whose funerary enclosure housed 68 subsidiary graves under the same roof as his own tomb, sealed together for eternity. Why did servants agree to this? Ancient Egyptians believed the Ka, life essence and soul, continued after death. But the afterlife wasn't guaranteed. It required proper burial, preservation of the body, and passage through Osiris's judgment. For common Egyptians, eternal life was uncertain. But servants sacrificed with a pharaoh? They bypassed all uncertainty. Dying alongside a god-king guaranteed eternal security, elevated social status in the afterlife, and continued purpose serving their master. Matthew Adams, archaeologist from the University of Pennsylvania, suggests ancient Egyptians may have viewed royal sacrifice as a sure way to reach eternal life. For a civilization obsessed with the next world, that guarantee was priceless. Some retainers went willingly. Others had no choice. But retainer sacrifice was expensive. Each servant represented lost labor, wasted training, economic inefficiency. A skilled brewer took years to perfect beer making. A master stone carver decades to develop expertise. Killing them at a royal funeral meant starting over, training replacements, losing institutional knowledge. By the reign of King Ka, last ruler of the First Dynasty around 2900 BC, only 26 subsidiary burials surrounded his tomb. The practice was dying. Within a generation it would vanish completely. What replaced human sacrifice? Shabti figures, small mummy-shaped statuettes inscribed with magical spells. These clay servants would awaken in the afterlife, perform all necessary tasks, and never require actual human death. Problem solved. 2650 BC, Pharaoh Djoser commissions history's first pyramid, a 6-tiered step pyramid designed by his vizier, Imhotep, at Saqqara. This isn't just architectural innovation, it's theological revolution. Djoser's pyramid complex contains no retainer sacrifices. The subsidiary graves belong to family members and high officials who died naturally over decades, choosing burial near their king. The pyramid's underground galleries hold 40,000 stone vessels, grave goods, not grave bodies. Djoser's afterlife will be served by objects and magic, not murdered servants. The age of human sacrifice is over. The age of monumental stone construction begins. But building pyramids comes with its own death toll. Constructing a pyramid was monumentally dangerous. Workers quarried limestone using copper chisels and wooden wedges, splitting massive blocks from bedrock. Accidents were inevitable, blocks shifting unexpectedly, crushing limbs or entire bodies. Ramps collapsed under weight. Ropes snapped, sending multi-ton stones tumbling down inclines. The step pyramid required tens of thousands of workers over decades. Some died from falls, others from heat exhaustion in Egypt's brutal sun. Rock slides buried teams alive. Herodotus, writing 2,000 years later, claimed 100,000 men worked 3 months annually for 20 years building the Great Pyramid. Modern estimates suggest 20,000 to 30,000 workers at any given time. Either way, fatalities were unavoidable when moving 2.3 million limestone blocks, averaging 2.5 tons each. But here's what's remarkable. Pyramid workers weren't slaves. They weren't expendable labor. They were skilled craftsmen working for payment, either wages or tax obligations. Archaeologists discovered workers' villages near Giza, housing laborers in purpose-built settlements. They had medical care, adequate food rations, and proper burials when they died. Workers' cemeteries, located 500 meters west of the pyramid construction site, contained hierarchical burials, reflecting workforce structure. General laborers received modest mud brick tombs. Skilled artisans and foremen got larger mastaba-style tombs, with hieroglyphic inscriptions detailing their occupations. Some tombs included artistic reliefs of daily life, funerary offerings, and religious texts requesting safe passage to the afterlife. The workers' cemetery proved something crucial. Pyramid builders were respected contributors to state projects. Those who died during construction weren't disposed of carelessly. They were buried with dignity near the monuments they built, an honor reflecting their service. Tomb inscriptions list titles like Overseer of the Side of the Pyramid, Director of Draftsmen, Inspector of Craftsmen, and Director for the King's Work. These weren't anonymous slaves worked to death. They were named individuals with specialized skills, families, and social standing. When construction accidents killed them, they were mourned, buried properly, and remembered. Death wasn't part of the architectural plan anymore. It was an occupational hazard, regretted but unavoidable in an age without modern safety equipment. The transition from deliberate sacrifice to accidental death marks a profound shift in Egyptian values. March 21st, First Dynasty pharaohs saw human life as expendable resource for ensuring royal afterlife comfort. By the Pyramid Age, human life had value beyond servitude. Yes, workers died building pyramids, falls from scaffolding, crushed by blocks, heat stroke, infection from injuries. Archaeological examination of workers' skeletons shows healed fractures indicating medical treatment, arthritis from repetitive labor, and occupational injuries consistent with heavy construction. These men suffered for their work, but they weren't murdered for it. That's the difference. They built their own monuments, and when construction killed them, they were laid to rest nearby with honor. The archaeological record shows approximately 10 to 20 workers died annually building the Great Pyramid over its 20-year construction period. 200 to 400 total deaths. That's horrific by modern standards, but remarkable for ancient megaproject construction. Compare that to First Dynasty retainer sacrifices. 300 servants murdered for one funeral. The Pyramid Age didn't eliminate death from monumental architecture. It eliminated intentional killing. Workers died serving their pharaohs but weren't sacrificed to them. The monuments built on their broken backs became their tombstones. The pyramids rising into the sky marked not just royal tombs, but workers' cemeteries. Every block quarried, hauled, and placed represented human sweat, skill, and sometimes human death. But those deaths were accidents, not offerings. Workers buried beneath pyramids weren't victims. They were builders who didn't survive to see their masterwork completed. A tragedy, not a sacrifice.